The Duke 552, it's an odd and interesting fountain pen that I have purchased from Amazon some time ago. What attracted me about the fountain pen was the barrel that is made out of bamboo. I thought it's kind of stylish and it looked pretty darn good in the pictures. And since I already have a few Duke fountain pens and all of the models that I have so far are pretty well put together, the curiosity got the best of me, and 31 Canadian dollars later and some free shipping, I had this pen on my door 2 days later. The design of the fountain pen overall, it's fairly simple, pretty much straight barrel and cap with dumb ends on both of them. Looking at the cap at the top, it seems that we have maybe white mother of pearl. I don't know if it's faux or real, however, it doesn't look too bad at the top there. Unfortunately, the fit and finish doesn't seem to be the best. There's quite some gap around it, and in my case, I also have like a small blob of glue that stands out. As mentioned, the cap is domed and seems to have some nice and interesting bands just at the top, 2 chrome and 1 plastic. I'm not sure how much metal is there, but there seems to be a little bit of weight on the cap. Below that, we do have a pretty interesting and imposing clip, I would call it. And we do have inscribed Duke on it. However, this clip, it's really non-functional. I am unable to lift this clip at all. I was planning to kind of force it a little bit and basically try and do my shirt test, but I noticed that there's a little bit of, I'm not sure what that is, a little bit of metal sticking out. And I honestly don't want to rip the cloth that I have. It's a nice cloth, I like it. So I would consider this clip unusable personally. Under the clip, we have a metal band at the end of the cap where we do have inscribed Duke on the front end and aligns with the clip quite nicely. And on the other side, which is not 100% 180 degrees from the clip, slightly to the right, we have inscribed 552. Then we have another band. This band, it's actually part of the barrel, and basically will be the insert at the end of the bamboo piece in order to, well, thread it to the section. The bamboo part seems to be pretty straight, and I do like the feeling of the bamboo. I don't know if it has anything protective on top of it, but it feels quite nicely to the touch and warmish. And then we have another pretty large band, tapers down a little bit, where in theory you can post the cap. Well, I'll get back to that. And another chrome piece that basically it's at the end of the barrel and it's domed. The cap is a twist cap, works actually very nice, very smooth, and pretty much opens up fairly quickly. I would assume it's somewhere around 2 turns. I'll be honest, I did not count. And when we remove it, we'll be greeted with a little bit of a disappointment, or at least it was in my case when I opened it. A fairly short section and a very tiny nib, which I assume it's a number 5 nib. I say disappointed because based on the size of the pen, I thought that this actually comes with a number 6 nib at least. Unfortunately, that is not the case. Having a quick look inside the cap, we do have pretty much 2 inner plastic liners. One is for the threads, and the other one is, I assume, to seal the nib. I don't know how well it works. I hadn't had a chance to use it yet. Going back to the section of the fountain pen, as mentioned, a little bit of disappointment. I did not expect this tiny nib. The pictures that were on the Amazon site did not show the nib. I guess that's on me for not researching more and making sure that what I buy is what I want. The odd thing is that we do have a taper down section, very similar with the previous Jinhao that I reviewed. However, I don't find it very uncomfortable. I do find the step up a little bit odd on the barrel. I'm not sure how uncomfortable it will be. I guess I'll give you more info on that in the final conclusions after I have a chance to spend some time with it. One thing that I noticed is that the nib unit is actually not a removable nib unit. This seems to be glued in place. However, the nib and the feet do come out by pulling them out. Requires a little bit of effort, but eventually they will come out. The barrel needs to be twisted in order to be removed. Takes a little bit to remove it, and there is a little bit of noise, which pretty much tells me that we have metal threads on metal threads. And when we remove the barrel, we discover that fortunately it does come with a converter, and this seems to be a pretty decent converter. I don't think I'll have any issues with it. And as mentioned, I'm not sure if the camera will capture this, but inside we do have some glue marks from that section, that nib unit being glued inside the section. And having a look inside the barrel, pretty straightforward, nothing out of the ordinary. As mentioned, we do have a metal threaded insert at the top, and then continues with the bamboo. We do see some glue marks in there, but overall nothing out of the ordinary. Pretty decent. First impressions of holding the fountain pen in hand, it feels okay. One thing, like I mentioned, I'm not 100% sure how that band will feel as I use it. Right now that I'm focused on it, it kind of bothers me, but once I'll be doing the drawing and be focused on the drawing, maybe it wouldn't matter. I'll let you know in the final conclusions. But the balance overall seems to be actually not bad. I like it. It seems to be a little bit nib heavy, which I actually prefer in a fountain pen since it naturally points down by itself. I don't have to fight with it. And the length, it's actually quite perfect. Extends a little bit over my knuckle, which I'm sure it will accommodate quite a few hands sizes. However, if by any chance you do have considerably larger hands than me, the pen does post, and unfortunately it doesn't post very secure. It's a little bit wonky and wobbly. I mean, the cap kind of stays in there, but only because those plastic threads are kind of grabbing at the end of that dome and finial. I don't know if that will wear the threads in time. However, personally, I actually dislike posting this pen because it's quite top heavy, and I'll definitely find uncomfortable and annoying, especially since this will move as I write or quickly draw lines on the paper. So personally, I won't consider this pen postable. However, technically, I guess you could say it does post. And overall, this is the fountain pen. Fairly simple, not a lot of things going on for it. So far, I've been disappointed by the clip and the section and the nib side, and the fact that it doesn't post, I guess. But let me dive into a writing sample and then into a sketch, and I should have some final conclusions for you at the end of it. For today's ink, I decided to use the platinum carbon ink. Hopefully will work well with this nib. Hopefully this nib will work. So, this is a little bit of a hard stop in there. Duke 552 fountain pen. Definitely a little bit of a hard startup. The nib seems to be fairly smooth. Might require a little bit of floss. I will try and floss it before doing the sketch, and I will get back to you if that made it better or worse. In the meantime, I will try the nib as is just to see how bad it is. Alright, so the nib seems to have some issues. If I press on it, works. But if I just use it normally with moderate pressure, it has issue with the flow. So I'll be doing some work on this nib. Hopefully I will get it to work, and we'll try and do a sketch with it. I'll let you know during the sketch what the issue was with the nib once I work on it. And obviously you will see if I manage to fix it or not. So far though, this nib seems to be pretty bad. I mean, it definitely has potential. It doesn't scratches. I mean, it does make some noises, but it's not scratchy per se. And I don't know. Let me work on it, and I'll see you hopefully during the sketch, and I'll let you know what I think of this. I managed to fix the nib. It looks like there were a few issues. The tines were way too close together, and as such ink was not flowing very well. Also, there seems that it had some debris caught between the tines. It really felt gritty when I was flossing the nib. And lastly, for whatever reason, I also had to change the ink. I have no idea why, but this nib and feed setup just did not want to work with the platinum carbon ink that I had. So I switched to the Monteverde Black Ash instead. And for today's drawing, I actually decided to try something a little bit different. I ended up doing some sort of an abstract floating city that either is powered by its own sun or just had a major oops. I guess that is left to interpretation, and you are free to entertain your own opinion if you would like. This also gave me the chance to finally try that Banmi permanent red ink. Not bad, but for whatever reasons, in some spots actually feathered on this paper. Really odd. I don't think I had any issues like this on this paper with any of the inks that I have tried so far. Anyway, going back to the fountain pen. Once all the issues were solved, I actually enjoyed it, to be honest. Did not distract me from the drawing or bother me in any way. Not bad fountain pen once I got it going. What do I like about the Duke 552? I have to admit that when I first picked it up, I was not really that impressed by it. But I guess as I used it, and especially during the drawing and after I got a need to work properly, I have to admit that I actually liked how it felt in hand. That is the first thing that comes into my mind when I think of the fountain pen. I did not expect that. I was worried that the band at the beginning of the barrel might have bothered me, but I completely forgot about it. And great weight and balance when unposted, for me at least. And then the second thing that stood out to me was the nib, surprisingly, after I fixed it. I was disappointed by the size of it and by the fact that it wasn't really working. But once I got it going, the nib actually was very smooth on both sides, and he was working properly. So yeah, I mean, it needed some work, but it was actually nice afterwards. What I don't like about it, unfortunately on this pen there were a few things that I disliked. So obviously starting off with the clip, which pretty much in my eyes is completely unusable, and I didn't even want to try to maybe force it over the cloth because the edges were not the best, and I really did not want to tear that cloth apart. And then I guess it was the issue of posting it. I would personally not really call this pen postable, but I guess technically you can put the cap on the barrel's end and it sort of stays there. Again, I leave that up to you. And then the nib, obviously the nib was an issue. I don't know if I got a lemon, probably. But then again, unfortunately my copy didn't work, so I have to mark it as an issue. And lastly, the fit and finish on the pen, really not the best, at least not as polished as I would have expected it to be when I compare it with other Duke fountain pens that I have. Overall, in the end, I have to say that I am okay with the fountain pen, and I don't mind it now that it's working, but I truly cannot recommend it as I received this copy. So my only advice would be, as anything, if you can try it before buying it, it's best. Or at least get it from somewhere where you can return it without issues, in case you don't like it or you have issues with it and you don't want to bother fixing it. Anyway, that's about it for today. If you have any other questions, as usual, please leave a comment below and I will try and get to it as soon as I can. Thank you for joining me today. Hope I'll see you next time, and I wish you all the best and a wonderful day or night or wherever you are. Take care. Bye.